Hello everyone and welcome to Having to Roll. My name is Oliver and I'm here with Robin.
Hello everyone.
And we tried LARPing for the first time this year.
We did. We went to every Empire LARP event of 2022.
LARP stands for Live Action Roleplay. You might be familiar with tabletop role-playing games like D&D or RPG video games. In a LARP game, you dress up as your character, you do as they do, you talk as they would talk, you act as they would act.
Unlike a TTRPG, you don't have any dice to rely on. So if you do want to go out and fight a load of people, you're going to have to actually do it.
Exactly. If you want to be charismatic, then you're going to have to actually be a little bit charismatic. If you want to be sneaky, you're going to have to be sneaky. If you want to be a good fighter and tell everyone you're a good fighter, you better be ready to back that up.
Empire LARP is a LARP system that we tried this year. Empire LARP is a festival LARP, meaning that it involves thousands of people at every event. It runs from the Friday straight through to the Sunday 4 times a year.
It's held in the south of England at Gadford Road camping site. It's actually right next to Silverstone Racecourse. The game of Empire is just that. You play a hero in a mighty empire that is under constant threat from hostile barbarians and foreign nations. The setting is a classical fantasy setting. It is a little bit more along the veins of Game of Thrones and the Dragon Age video games, in my opinion, when it comes to the magic and the warfare and the political intrigue, rather than your high fantasy settings that you might find in D&D. You play a hero in the Empire, and that can take the form of a mighty warrior, a knight in shining armor.
Or you could play a bard, telling stories and singing songs of all the heroic deeds that you've witnessed.
Or you could be a powerful merchant that has access to all the rarest and most sought after materials within the Empire.
Or if you're ambitious enough, you could even go on to become the Empress or the Emperor.
Or if you just want to treat it as a holiday, sit back, drink some ale around a fire and take the world in, you can also do that.
Empire LARP is run by Profound Decisions. If you wanted to come to one of the events, all you need to do is head over to the Profound Decisions website. There you can buy a ticket and you can create your very own LARP character.
It's free to create an account and make your character before the event. Character creation screen is quite straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like a video game and you make several choices about what your character will be.
The first step is to choose the nation that your character is part of. This is the most exciting part of it, deciding on your nation.
It is going to be the most important decision you make. Empire is made up of 10 distinct nations, all with their own look and feel. When you're doing character creations, they have links for all the important information to their wiki. It's a little bit, in my opinion, is a little bit of a dated system. Wikipedia can be quite tricky and it's a bit old school to maneuver around. The wiki holds what's called your national brief. This will tell you the look, the feel. It will give you an insight into their culture, how they deal with magic, how their armies work. The reason it's so important a decision is that that's going to affect what costume you have. It's also going to affect the people that you interact with the most. That's not a saying that you can't interact with everyone, because you are going to be able to interact with everybody, but you're most likely going to be spending time in your nation's camp. So you really want to pick a nation that resonates with you, the one where you like the look and the feel and the lore. It is possible to change your nation during play. You can also just make another character, but for your first time, it will impact your weekend quite a bit what nation you pick. It's not something that you have to stick to, but it is the best part of the game, is those distinct groups that Profound Decisions have made within the Empire game.
The freeborn of the Brass Coast are travelers, poets, and merchants. They wear bright, bold, striking colours and tend to have various types of jewellery, including bells.
Contracts are really important to them.
They really do like contracts.
The highborn of Highguard are a people confident in their place in history. They wear long robes, contrasting colours. Highguard is the birthplace of the Empire. They have a real, chantry from the Dragon Age games that I mentioned earlier. I want to say they give off the vibe of purists, although they might not like you describing them as that.
The Imperial Orcs are the newest nation to join the Empire. Having won their freedom from slavery as recently as 2 generations ago, They now face the challenge of building their nation.
I love the Imperial Orcs. They really do give a greater sense of immersion. Some of the role play that the Orcs have, they have the costumes and their set dressing for their camp is just so amazing.
It's absolutely wonderful. They are one of my favourite nations.
The Orcs. The people of the League are city folk through and through. They are very much into showing off their affluence. Think of Renaissance Italy, think of Assassin's Creed 2, the video games. That's the kind of look and feel that I get from them. Very autumnal colours, they like to wear masks, they're all about mercenaries and fashion.
The marches are the breadbasket of the Empire. They have a great love for their land and their people. They dress in clothing that is practical. Think wooling dresses and long tunics.
Yeah, the marches, they give off this real old England feel to them, but there is far more beneath the accents and the silly clothes and the potato jokes. The Navarre call the forest their home. They walk magical roads to stave off evil so they can one day return home. They give you a real like wood elfy vibe if you like that kind of aesthetic. They have a real cool camp in the trees. Their lore and the nation itself is a little bit more like Celtic and mystical than it is elven though.
Urizen is a nation which values magic. Not everyone is a magician, but Urizeni magic permeates everything. They have a real high elven look and feel to them. Think long silk robes in ombre tones.
Yeah, they don't like touching, like as in shaking hands. They're more into bowing and things.
Exactly. In Urizen, they feel that a bow is more appropriate than a handshake.
Varushka. The people of Varushka have to make hard decisions and compromises in their harsh world and way of life. Think Eastern European dark fantasy and maybe even kind of European dark fairy tales. Some of the best accents in the game as well.
I really love the stories from Varushka, especially the stories involving different monsters and the rules that they have to live by. The Winterfolk of Wintermark are three great peoples come together. They live on very harsh lands and have to dress accordingly. They wear thick leather and heavy furs. They have a real Rohirrim vibe to them.
The Vikings. So yeah, that's all the nations.
No. You forgot about the best one.
The nation that we chose to join our first time at Empire LARP was Dawn. Dawnish are passionate and glorious in every aspect of their lives. Think Arthurian knights, knights in shining armor, romantic fantasy. Think of troubadours telling stories of love and tragedy.
We could probably talk all day about Dawn. Luckily, we have many podcasts and videos out there of our experience in Dawn. If you want to know anything else about Dawn, please go check them out.
And also give this video a thumbs up, subscribe as well, go check out all that extra content.
Now that you've chosen your nation, the next step is to decide what skills your character has. You have experience points which you can use to buy different skills. The more events you attend, the more experience points you rack up.
I think you start out with 8 experience points in total. You
think so.
do not have to spend all the points straight away. You can come to the event, see what parts of the game interest you, and then spend your points after the event or during the event, because you can go to the games operations desk and spend them there. There is a retrain system as well, so if you spent points and after the event you go, why did I do that? You can actually retrain your skills now afterwards, which I don't think was a thing before.
There are various different types of skills that you can spend points on. These range from skills within combat to skills within magic, crafting, religion. There's so many things that your character can do.
Usually they don't lock you out of the game totally, specifically combat. If you're worried about that, if combat is something that you want to do, you will have to spend points to carry a bigger shield, use two-handed weapons, use a bow or a crossbow, but every single character can freely use a single-handed weapon. So not taking skills in combat won't lock you out of the combat game whatsoever. Next, you need to decide on your character's resource. Each event at Empire LARP represents a summit of all the heroes and basically the big shakers and high rollers of the Empire. You've been invited to a place called Anvil where the event is held. The reason you've been invited initially, you can write this into your backstory. You have something that provides you with a resource, something that makes you important in the Empire. This will usually be decided on what kind of archetype you want. If you want to be an apothecary, someone who makes potions, then you might want a herb garden. For example, Robin and I have military units, so our military units will go off and do paid work, or they'll do things in the armies and they get paid for it.
Finally, you get to decide your character's identity. What is their name? What is their story? The backstory part, for those of you who do not like writing big backstories, like you, you don't have to write much at all. It's quite a small area to fill in. And you can change this as time goes on if you wish to.
You also choose your archetype. I don't think this is actually super necessary, but for example, our archetype was Knight Errants. We knew we wanted to go as Knight Errants going in. The archetypes are usually found on the wiki, depending on what avenue you might want to go, but you don't have to. You can just show up as a tourist if you like. The last choice that you might have, if you are not an Imperial Orc, you can only in the game of Empire be an Imperial, which means that you cannot be a barbarian, you cannot be someone from outside of the Empire, you have to be an Imperial. So you are therefore a human, or if you chose the Imperial Orcs as your nation, an Imperial Orc. However, you can choose a lineage for your human character. Lineage is a way for the game that doesn't have things like elves and whatnot to give us that little bit of fantasy flavor. A lineage is a human that has been touched by the realms of magic. They all have their own look. They have their own brief on the wiki, which will tell you what type of trappings, what type of physical features that they have. For example, Robin and I our characters are both changelings. Some of the trappings of the changelings are things like pointed ears, spirals on the skin, antlers, and feathered eyebrows. We also, because we are touched by magic, we have role-playing effects that do have not massive mechanical changes within the game, but there is role-playing advice and a brief on your lineage. So if that's something that interests you, then you can go down that road.
Now that you have your account and you have your character, next it's time to buy a ticket.
There are 4 events in the year. You can buy tickets for a specific event. I think currently something they did over the COVID times was sell open tickets, which means you can buy a ticket and is good for any of the 4 events. I think that's something they've actually brought back. If you are interested in coming to Empire, we do actually have a little referral code. It will give you £15 off your first event. It also gives us a little kickback as well, which is appreciated. The thing about LARP that really interested us, other than the roleplay part of it, is of course the costumes.
Oh, definitely.
Costumes in LARP are called kits. So the term kit seems to envelop your armor, all your soft garments and your weapons.
You can get LARP items in lots of different places, but if you are really unsure, what you can actually do is get all your base layers together first, head to the event, and then before time in, you can go shopping. You can get pretty much everything there, I would say.
Yeah, pretty much. We'll do a quick rundown of kit. It is a large topic that will take a whole nother video to cover. First of all, you're going to need to know what is appropriate for your nation. You can go to your nation's wiki. It will give you a look and feel. There's pictures on there as well. I would recommend going to the Empire Facebook pages. There is a new player support page, which is extremely full of amazing and welcoming people. Each nation has their own Facebook page. Each lineage has their own Facebook page. If you go in there and you ask the members in there, what we found about LARP people is that they love to talk about every aspect of LARP. Taking in consideration the national briefs, the basics that you're probably going to need are a half-decent shirt, a pair of trousers, decent footwear. It is a UK-based LARP and the weather can be temperamental at the best of times.
When it comes to footwear, most people tend to have walking boots, just your generic walking boots in either a black or a brown sort of colour. People also wear things like equestrian boots and muck boots as well. One
thing we would both probably recommend is a decent cloak as well to keep yourself warm. When it comes to armour and weapons, the LARP community, including us, are usually happy if you are a nice person to lend you pieces of kit and weapons if you say want to try out the combat, but you don't want to put the economic investment into the hobby just yet. Profound Decisions for their Empire LARP game have something called Aspirational Kit, which I really appreciate. The costume standard is actually quite high at Empire, but it's actually against the rules to call people out on their costumes. As long as you have come to the event and for the next event you keep improving your costume, then it's all going to be okay.
If you are interested in the combat side and you do want to get your own weapons, then there are lots of vendors at the event. At the event, all the weapons have to be checked to make sure that they are safe to have out on the LARP field itself. The advice that we were given was to buy the weapons at the actual event itself. That way they've got a better chance of passing the weapons check. The majority of the vendors also, if your weapon does fail, you can take it back to them and they will be able to help you out there.
The weapons that we use in the Empire LARP system are a foam latex. There aren't any firearms or gunpowder in the setting. Yeah, if you do decide to get your first weapon at the event, it's good because you can actually pick them up, you can have a feel of them, you can have a feel of their weight.
Once you arrive at the event, if you're camping there, you can go ahead and set up your camp. There are 2 camping areas at the event. There's an out-of-character camping area. That's where you can have any style of tent you want, and there's an in-character camping area. The in-character camping area will be with your nation that you chose to be part of. If you're camping in character, people tend to go for things like canvas bell tents or scout tents. That way it's in with the setting and you're fully immersed in this world.
You don't have to stay on site. I think there are hotels and Airbnbs.
Once you're all set up, you can head and explore around the event.
Coming into LARP, there's terminology that you have to learn.
Time in is when everyone is in character and your actions can influence the game. Time out is when you are no longer in character. Time in is from 6 p.m. on the Friday right through to 1 a.m. on the Saturday morning. Then again from 10 a.m. on the Saturday through to 1 a.m. on the Sunday. The final time in is 10 a.m. on the Sunday through to 3 p.m. on the Sunday. You can arrive on the Thursday. If you want to arrive on the Thursday, it's an extra £5 per person to camp. The Thursday is quite fun arriving at, actually. We've done 2 events arriving at a Thursday and 2 events arriving at a Friday, and I prefer the Thursday arrival.
You do have to be quite careful though, because this can be the party day where you show up and you're so excited to see all your friends again, and you sit around campfires out of character and drink too much, and now you've just made yourself tired and hungover for the whole weekend. Something that we definitely haven't done.
Oh dear. On the Friday, there are also lots of new player events. These events are designed to help all the new players in the system, going into detail of several parts of the game. There is also a new player skirmish where you get to head out and learn how to fight, go through the rules, and experience that without any risk to your actual character.
Yeah, these little meetings are all done before time in on the Friday just to ease new players in. I would highly recommend going to them. I think we went to most of them. We went to the brief, which was just a overall, what is it like at Empire? You get to see the faces of some of the staff. It is a small staff and it is a large festival style LARP, so there are a lot more players than there are actual staff and crew there.
On the Friday before time in, you can head over to the games operations desk, otherwise known as God. God is a huge white tent situated in the out-of-character area next to the food vans. This is where you can collect your player pack. It's a lovely player pack.
Your player pack contains... It's a character sheet, although in this game, unlike D&D and other LARP systems that we've heard of, it's not really a sheet that you need to take around with you. It literally just gives you your name, it gives you the points that you spent and the skills that you currently have, your hit point total, but the most important thing that comes in this pack is your resource. Included in the pack is the in-character currency. any that you have, any resources that your resource provider has given you. When you get more into the game, you can get little bits of plot in these character packs, depending on what you are doing in downtime, which is the time between events. You can, for example, send your military unit to go and fight with a certain army, and that might give you certain rewards that you'll get in your character pack. So the in-character currency is what you'll be using to obviously buy things and trade within the game. Now, you can buy actual food and drink. There will be in-character vendors selling food and drink. The food vendors and the kit vendors will be taking normal money, sometimes called barbarian money, in game. So you kind of want to have a bit of both currency. Speaking of food, you can buy all your food at the event, but it's a good idea to maybe bring some food along with you, because it can be a bit expensive doing it that way.
The event has your basic facilities there, including toilets, showers, and also water available throughout. There are also first responders on site if there are any emergencies. We found that our experience in Dawn, when it came to the camping, everybody had the opportunity to put forward any accessibility needs that they may have, and that was taken into consideration by the camp planners so that you can enjoy the event from wherever you are. The event also has refs.
The ref's job is to facilitate the rules and make sure everyone is playing safely and abiding by those rules. If you suspect someone of cheating, again, it's actually against the rules to call out people for cheating. You really do need to head to a ref. If you have any game questions, mechanical questions, you can head to God, or there are other tents where there are PD crew as well. If it is a role-playing question, like how do I become a general? How do I get into this part of the magic part of the game? Each nation does have a, not necessarily a non-player character, but there is a character put there mechanically by Profound Decisions called Egregores. The Egregore's job is to make sure everyone's having fun and playing the game within the brief, within the setting correctly, and to make sure that new players in particular are having fun and accessing the game that they want to access. Now it's time in, so now everyone's in roleplay. How did you find the roleplay in LARP compared to D&D and cosplay?
I found it very different. In a D&D game, when you're role-playing, you can be very over the top, and it is just for this short period of time. Or if you're cosplaying, you're doing a short skit on the stage. Being in character constantly was a new experience.
It flows a little bit more naturally. You flow in and out of character, I find, because it is, like you said, over an extended period of time. And because of this, it doesn't translate overly well to film. This is why we don't have any footage of us LARPing at the events, and Profound Decisions actually have a policy that there is no filming of the roleplay. It is a policy that I agree with. It can be a very intimate thing. There are people who have come from all walks of life to be in this fantasy world where there is no electronics, where there is no phones, and we can all sit around the campfire singing songs. I think it would definitely break the immersion to have a lot of people running around with camera phones.
Exactly. It really is a true escape from the real world.
So a few things about the setting. The setting is completely gender blind. The game is accessible for people of all ages, so you can bring children. There are children there, but it is quite an adult environment, adult game. So if you do bring children, they are expected to, one, be in appropriate kit. They're expected to actually give some respect to the game and play the game. Also, it's good to know that if you are bringing children, there will be lots of adults that aren't watching their language and will be drinking alcohol.
There is also an in-game academy where the children are able to go to, along with an adult supervising them. The academy itself is sectioned with a magical barrier, meaning that other people are not allowed to head in there.
When it comes to children in the setting, adoption has been completely normalized. Obviously, in a meta sense, this means that children don't have to be in the same nation necessarily as their parents. There are no horses in the world of Empire, which explains why there's no cavalry. I think, in my opinion, I think Dawn are the cavalry anyway.
They certainly are the cavalry.
But the absence of horses is very deep in the lore as well. The juicy bit, it's not for everyone, but it is absolutely amazing. are the battles. Over the course of the weekend, there are 2 big scale battles, one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday, and these are large 1,000 v 1,000 battles. Now, as we said before, you play an Imperial, and that's your only choice. On the Saturday, half the armies will go out onto the battlefield, while the other half of the player base plays the Barbarians. And the following day, everyone switches around.
This is a rule that if you do fight one day, you do have to go out the next day as well. That way it's completely fair and the battles are balanced.
You do not have to go out to the battles. It is completely optional to do any combat in this system, but the battles are one of our favourite parts of LARP so far. There is nothing quite like being a part of those large-scale battles where there's lots going on and you're either fighting as your hero against these barbarians, and you have all the different nations with all the different fighting styles and all their different looks and feels and all their different songs being sung, and you see a barbarian nation come charging towards you, or in the case of Dawn, we go charging at them.
It is certainly my favourite part of the entire LARP experience, and it's the part that I look forward to most.
In the camp at Anvil, we have something called the Sentinel Gate, which is pretty much the Stargate. It is a way for the Empire to send their heroes to the far-flung places of the Empire. So when it's time for battle, you get girded up and you head through the Sentinel Gate with your army. Over the course of the weekend, there are other opportunities for combat. There are small-scale missions known as skirmishes. This is usually for roughly 30 to 50 players to go out to do a single mission. This is a bit more like a D&D style type of role play, as you're going out to just take out a small group of barbarians, or you're going out to destroy a pillar that might make a difference in the large scale battles, or to go out and slay a monster.
Yeah, I find that these sort of skirmishes tend to be a lot more deadly than the big battles themselves, which is something I didn't expect when I first went in.
Exactly. There are other creatures other than humans and orcs in this world. The way that combat works is that you have a pool of hit points, a little bit like D&D. Once you reach 0 on your hit points, you go down and then you are bleeding out. Once you have bled out, your character does die. Death is a very real threat for your character in this world if you do any type of combat. If your character does die, it is a matter of making a new character. If your character dies mid-event, you can go what's called terminal, which means that you have to die by the end of the event, but you can still experience the rest of the event as your character if you wish. Your abilities in combat are things like using hero calls. For example, you can cleave someone's leg by using a hero point, a skill which you can purchase. Magic also has a role in the combat system. There are 2 types of magic in this system. There is combat style touch magic, where you literally have to touch your combatant.
Yeah.
So to paralyze them, to shatter their shield. There's no like beanbags or fireballs in this game system.
Nothing gimmicky like that.
The other type of magic you're going to come across is the ritual magic. There are ritual circles within the world of Empire. There's one at Anvil, and these rituals can buff entire armies. People can do smaller personal rituals to give their friends and themselves buffs like extra hit points.
I find the role play during these rituals is really amazing to go and watch or be part of.
The magic at Empire comes from 6 magical realms.
Winter, spring, summer, autumn, day and night.
And they each have their own feel corresponding to the realm that they come from. For example, winter magic is a lot about death and dying and paying a price of life for something. These realms of magic are also home to the Eternals. They are sort of demigods, if you like. They can't physically come to the mortal realm, but they do like to interfere with the Empire and all the other nations. They are very powerful. They remind me more of demons and devils from other planes of existence. They are very powerful and they like to manipulate things that are going on in other realms, but they are not gods. Speaking of gods, one of the most unifying aspects of the Empire is its religion, known as the Way of Virtue, or usually known actually as the Way. The Way is the only religion, and you cannot be worshipping anything else under pain of death or banishment. In the world of Empire, your human soul, once it dies, has to maneuver its way through a labyrinth. Once you get out of the labyrinth, you are reincarnated again as a hero of the Empire. The 7 virtues of the Way are virtues that correspond to real-world human virtues. So there is no actual deity that we are worshipping. It is, I find, a great system in the game because these virtues are something you do just kind of stumble on. So with religion, trading, fighting, and politics, there are different avenues that you can go down with LARP, usually referred to as game. So if you have an interest in the military game, you might want to be a general. You might want to be a senator, in which case you want to chase the political side of the game. With thousands of players doing all these different things and being interested in all these different aspects of the broader game, it really makes it feel like a buzzing, living world once you're there.
There's also always something for you to do and something for your character to do. So don't worry if you're not too sure which part you're interested in currently, because it will find you. No matter your age, your level of fitness, or your costuming ability, LARP has something for everyone. I have found LARP to be one of the most welcoming communities that I have ever been part of, and I really do wish I'd gotten into it sooner.
If you have any questions regarding Empire or LARP in general, how do I get into LARP, just leave us a comment down below.
Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to bringing you lots of more LARP-based content soon. Pride, vigilance, ambition, wisdom, loyalty, prosperity, and courage.
Yay!
Did it!
That was only the 100th take.
Don't ask me.
We'll say goodbye a couple of times.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.